Welcome to the Mass.
On the surface she looks fine, but what's inside ain't always in line. Life is good, life is bad. She's a mess, but a happy one.
Hi, I'm Little Happy Miss, and welcome to my podcast. In today's episode, I would like to talk about balancing all those sparkles with some dust. I think we all got dust in our life. I have a special dust that many people refer to as depression. I will also talk about anxiety because the two are always linked together, at least in my case they are. So let's dive right into the dust. Quoting myself. I don't know why I feel all this pain. I don't know where all this anxiety comes from, but right now, all I can feel and all there is pain. At the same time, I feel empty, like this anxiety is taking all there was of me. What's left is an empty cover cracking from inside out. Story time. So I wrote this story, or I wrote this text back in 2015 when I was doing an exchange semester in Bogota. And I actually have a lot of texts like that. Like I told you, I just started my 19th journal. But I used to just write about the bad stuff and never wrote about the good stuff. And that changed in October. So when I turned 26, I was like, I don't want to look back and then just see all the negative things in my life. I want to write down about the positive things that happened to me as well. So I'm doing it both now. I'm mixing it. So when something negative happens, I try to take the positive out of it and write it down. And I also talk about the positive aspects of my life in my journals. Yes, so I wrote this back in Colombia, in Bogota, in 2015. I was doing a students exchange back then. And no matter how far I traveled, no matter what good time I had, depression always came to chase me. It haunted me for what back then felt like all my life. So I couldn't really run away, and it didn't matter if I had a good time or not. It always came at some point, and to me there was no pattern. It always hit me out of nowhere. Also, depression and anxiety were always linked together for me. So the one coexisted with the other, and I didn't experience one without the other. Only like very light depressive phases, but those ones I don't really count in because I could handle them very well. Anyway, so back in 2015 when I wrote this text, um, you can kind of say I had two personalities. So there was the sparkly Nina, the light and bright Nina, and then there was the dark Nina, the depressive Nina. And the light sparkly Nina, which I refer to as normal Nina, always wanted dark Nina gone. So she felt this deep hatred for her. She was too sensitive. She didn't perform. She didn't conform either. So she wasn't at all filling any of the bright Nina's expectations. So she wasn't accepted at all. And yeah, the bright Nina always tried to be all perfect and created this illusion around her life and was high performing, always doing a lot of things at the same time and no breaks and just like 100% all of the time. And the bright Nina fully ignored the needs of the dark Nina. So the dark Nina always kind of came around. And since she wasn't being heard and she was like really suppressed all the time, she like she came in like with force. And the only mean she knew was depression, because that was when she was hurt. And I remember back then when I was really depressed, I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't eat back then, so I barely ever ate. And when I ate like a lot and then didn't eat for a few days. And it was really hard because, of course, I had friends, but I've been there for like 4 months maybe. And I didn't have the close friends I had back at home. And then I also had university, but in Spanish, so it was really hard back then. And yes, I couldn't handle, or the dark Nina couldn't handle the pressure. She just wanted to sleep all day and like to not have any obligations whatsoever. And in the background there was always so much pressure, so much noise, like you have to do that, you need to this needs to be done, and all that. And it was like voices talking to me, and it was awful. um and when the phase was gone, so when I was back to being normal, or what I considered to be normal, um I just continued the way I was before. It felt really refreshing to be back in the performing mode. Um, and I acted like nothing ever happened. All good in the hood, back to normal. I continued with the daily business of the bright and sparkly Nina. But up to that point, I never understood who that dark part of me was and why she seemed to always come back. Why? Wisdom. So what I like found out later about myself is that, surprise, surprise, I've been suppressing a very important part of me for like 10 years. And as you might already figured out, that didn't work very well, because I didn't I didn't let the dark Nina, which is actually the little Nina inside me, so the child Nina, the little girl, I didn't let her out, and I didn't let her like tell me, or just let her live. I just always wanted to hide her. I never heard her. I never listened to her. And that was the problem, because she had needs. And what the dark or little Nina really just wanted was, to relax sometimes, to play, to not having to be liked by everybody, haven't to just not have to live under all that pressure of conforming to some picture the bright Nina had for her life, because she just wanted to be free, more or less. And to me, depression really is acceptance. So when you start, or that was the journey for me, when I started to accept the dark Nina, so the part of me that I didn't like, it became a lot easier. And of course, I'm not a specialist. I'm just talking about myself right now, but maybe if you are facing similar problems, this helps you, because it changes the perspective, because usually people don't refer to it that way. But in my opinion, depression really is a part of our life that we don't want to accept, like in my case, or that we don't want to live. So something we just don't want to look at because we don't like it. So we keep ignoring it, suppressing it, and not living it. And it is important to live all aspects of our life. Of course, if you have a really bad anger problem, you need to treat that problem first. But usually, that anger problem doesn't come up because you're all happy with your life, but because something's wrong. And that's what I'm saying. Behind that problem, so behind depression, there's another issue in my case. There was a part of me that I didn't want to see, to live, to hear whatsoever. And this kind of sounds like a fairy tale, but when I started to accept the little Nina, I accepted the pain. Because life comes with pain. You can do whatever you want. Life is painful at some times. I accepted the pain, but I stopped suffering. So depression is really a lot of suffering, and pain, it's part of life, but suffering really is optional. And when I was like, okay, I'm letting go. I'm just accepting that I'm depressed right now, and I'm not gonna fight it. I just like let it happen. And when I fully went into that feeling, and when I let it all out, I I felt so relieved, and I did feel the pain, and it wasn't funny, but it was so much shorter. So instead of suffering for what was the longest, maybe a year, it became shorter. So from like I had a very, very depressed phase in July. And if I think back now, so taking the period July until now, January, I maybe had like 3 episodes, but the longest one lasted for 6 hours, and the shortest one for like maybe half an hour. Because when it comes, I just let it be, and it dissolves itself like without me trying to do anything. And yeah, the magic behind is that I just let it happen. And yeah, what really helped me is accepting this part of me, living this part of me, and really like stop at some times and really listen to myself, because I'm super sensitive, and there are certain environments that aren't good for me. Surprise! And I used to always force myself into those environments, and now I just don't. And it was very hard at the beginning. So, like August to October, I couldn't do a lot of things because everything triggered me. Like every single thing triggered me because I was hypersensitive. Then I also had like phases of a lot of energy, like I was running around in my flat all the time, like I did a lot of sports. And then I had phases of super low energy, and now it's completely balanced. So I feel like a normal person, whatever normal means. But yeah, it changed for the better. By the way, I had a script, and I'm saying something completely else, which is really funny. But yeah. um, and yes, so the important point I'd like to make in this wisdom part is, if you if you have a problem with depression or anxiety, find the reason behind it. Don't treat the symptoms, but find the root. And if you don't find it yourself, then go see a coach, a psychotherapist. You can message me too, of course. I just can't guarantee you that I'll help you in a way a professional does. I'm trying to be a professional, but I am not right now. And find out what is it that causes the problem, because when you find the cause, you can work with that. And for me, like I've said 2,000 times now already, it's acceptance. And I'm living a far more peaceful life now. So to like take you into my day a little bit, just so you know how my life is right now compared to the living quality I had before I knew this acceptance thing. So now I wake up every morning at 6, not on weekends, but during the week, and I meditate. I don't meditate for a long time. It's just to kind of like earth myself, calm down, and start the day. I work either home office or like I go to work. Then I come home, I cook. Um, I do stuff for the podcast, and then the evening routine, except for sports, friends, and everything, is the same. So I stretch, I meditate, and then I go to sleep. And so I have those rituals. In the mornings, I also journal, and these rituals really help me to focus and to stay on track. So when journaling, I always try to reflect how was my day, what do I want to achieve this day, and when going to sleep, this the meditation part really like cleanses my body again. So you know how you like take a shower to clean your physical body. For me, the meditation part is like cleaning my mind, because my mind is a crazy little shit. So I need to cleanse it. And yes, ever since I've started to like completely change my life, which was around August. There's a story why I changed, of course, which I will tell at some point too. Ever since I did this, my life's different. Like the living quality is a lot different. So I have those rituals. I see my family on a regular basis. I see my friends on a regular basis. I do sports on a regular basis because I love sports. I draw on a regular basis because I like being creative. I started this podcast because I want to carry something out in the world. I do my education to become a healing practitioner. I read a lot, and I just I just live. And when I was depressed, I wasn't living. It was like a slowly process of dying. Like parts of me kind of died away, and it's not pretty. That's why this topic is so important to me. And I mean, you could say, "Oh, she's only feeling better for half a year." It's even longer than that. So July was a very dark month, and then um, before that, July 2019. So in between this year, I didn't have anything either, and July 2020, there was a reason behind, of course. So something triggered it. Um, and I started doing rituals and really focusing on what I want in life, what's really important to me. Um, Back in 2019 in September, and this was a process of change. Further material. So we've reached the end of this episode. Like every time, I want to provide some further material for you guys. First of all, there is a documentary on YouTube again. No, it's actually a TED Talk, sorry. And the TED Talk deals about depression, and it refers to depression as a gate. And I found that interesting because the woman speaking says, like, she kind of says the same thing that I just said. When she went through the door, when she started accepting depression as it was, it actually it was like a gate, and she found more depth and more light in her life. And that's kind of like the same process that I went through. And the second documentary, or sorry, the second link is also on YouTube, and it's a man that I think he has bipolar disorder, but also like a lot of psychotic episodes. And he jumped from the Golden Gate Bridge. It's a very famous video, but if you haven't watched it, you really should, because it's really inspiring hearing that man's story. And exactly, so he talks about this experience because he survived, and he tells you how his life and his perception of life changed after that incident. Last but not least, I have a question for you. What is your personal experience with depression, and what does depression mean to you? I'd love to hear your answers to that question. If you've experienced depression, or if you ever knew somebody who has experienced or had experienced depression, let me know in the comments or on Instagram, a little happy mess with / in between the words. And if you've liked this video, please hit subscribe, follow me on Instagram, or leave a like, comment, whatever. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. Just like every week, I would love to hear your feedback, even if it's negative, so I can improve. And yes, stay fly, stay tuned, and I will see you next Friday. Have a bright weekend.